Okay, so today we're going to really dig into something that I know you've been curious about, and it has to do with how we learn and how that connects to how well we do in school.
Yeah, sounds fascinating.
You actually shared some pretty interesting research on this, and our goal is to really kind of unpack it,
Unpack it, yeah.
find the gold nuggets, and hopefully leave you with some takeaways you can actually use.
Yeah, like tools.
Tools, exactly right.
I like that.
So think of it like us trying to figure out the secret sauce behind effective learning just for you.
That's a good way to put it. And the term for what we're diving into is often called self-regulated learning.
Okay, self-regulated learning.
And simply put, it's about you being an active participant in your learning journey.
Okay, so not just sitting back and just kind of absorbing.
Exactly. It's not just absorption.
Right.
You're intentionally guiding your thoughts, your feelings, even your actions when you face like academic tasks.
Okay, so it's really about taking the wheel.
Yeah, taking the reins of your own education.
I like that. So I guess this is a question that researchers have been wrestling with for years, and I know it's one that you're interested in as well. What's the real link between how we manage our own learning, the self-regulation, and how successful we are academically?
Yeah, is it just common sense or is there like something deeper happening?
Right.
And it's definitely more than just a surface level connection.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, a key researcher named Zimmerman, he framed it as students being actively involved in their thinking, their motivation, their behavior, and their schoolwork.
Okay.
And that was like a foundational idea.
Foundational, okay.
Later on, around the turn of the millennium, Pinterich, he offered kind of a more detailed view,
Okay, more detail.
emphasizing that self-regulated learning involves setting these learning goals, and then you're actively monitoring your progress. You're adjusting your thinking, your actions. You're even like controlling your motivation to reach those goals,
Okay.
all within your learning environment.
Within your learning environment, that makes sense. So even with these different perspectives, are there some like core ideas that keep popping up when we talk about self-regulated learning?
Definitely.
Okay.
Despite all the different definitions, you see some common threads.
Okay.
And the big one is setting achievement goals.
Okay, knowing what you're aiming for.
Exactly knowing what you're aiming for.
Great.
Then there's this idea of like a feedback loop where you're constantly checking how you're doing against those goals.
Checking in. Okay.
Yeah, checking in.
Okay.
And finally, all the models emphasize this interplay of your thinking processes,
Okay.
your actual behavior, and your motivation to learn.
Okay.
Those three elements are always in the mix.
So your actions and your drive kind of all have to be aligned.
They got to be aligned, yeah.
So how does this actually all happen? Like, what are the key skills involved in making this self-regulation work?
That's where we get into these metacognitive processes.
Okay.
So think of these as the higher level mental skills that make self-regulation possible.
Okay, the conductor of the orchestra?
Exactly, the conductor.
Okay.
While researchers might like debate the specifics,
Sure.
there's a growing agreement around 5 key ones.
Okay, 5 key ones.
And it starts with setting goals.
Okay, deciding what you want to accomplish.
Right. Then there's planning.
So figuring out the steps to get there.
Exactly. And then you've got self-monitoring.
Keeping an eye on your progress.
Yeah. Keeping tabs on how you're doing. And then self-control.
Managing your focus and effort.
Exactly.
Yep.
Staying on track. And lastly, self-evaluation.
So reflecting on your learning and what you got out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And making adjustments based on what you've learned.
So these are kind of the engines.
The engines, yeah.
Of self-regulated learning.
They drive the whole process.
Okay, so we've got these sort of big picture skills, and then we also hear about these cognitive strategies.
Yeah.
So where do those fit into this whole picture?
Cognitive strategies are like the more specific mental tools that you use to learn. Like, for example, trying to connect new information to what you already know.
Okay.
That's elaboration.
Elaboration.
Or practicing and repeating information to help you remember it.
That's rehearsal.
Exactly. That's rehearsal.
Okay.
And self-regulation, driven by those metacognitive skills we just talked about, acts on these cognitive strategies to help you effectively reach your learning goals.
Okay.
It's like having a great mechanic.
Okay.
Who knows how to use all the tools in the toolbox to get the job done?
I like that analogy. So the mechanic is the metacognition.
Exactly.
And then the tools are the cognitive strategies.
You got it.
So essentially, by honing these self-regulated learning skills, you're becoming much more in control of your education.
Right.
You're not just passively receiving information, but actively shaping how you learn.
You're in the driver's seat.
You're in the driver's seat, exactly. And this has a real impact on your success in school, both in the short term and the long run.
You got it. And the research you shared really digs into just how strong and how nuanced that impact is.
Yeah, the research is fascinating. So overall, what does the research say?
Overall, the evidence consistently shows a positive link.
Okay.
Students who are better at self-regulating, they tend to achieve more academically.
So that seems to be a pretty solid finding.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid finding.
But it's not just about using learning strategies, right?
Right.
There's something more important than just having a bunch of tools in your learning toolkit.
Yeah, you hit on a crucial point.
Okay.
Simply employing cognitive strategies like summarizing or taking notes
Yeah.
can be helpful.
Sure.
But the real power comes from being able to regulate how and when you use them.
Yeah. Okay.
And this brings us back to metacognition.
Right. Back to mechanic.
Exactly, back to the mechanic. It's about monitoring whether those strategies are actually working for you.
Okay.
Recognizing when your understanding is shaky and then having the self-awareness and control to change your approach.
So it's not just about having the tools, it's about knowing when and how to use them. So within these metacognitive skills, things like goal setting, monitoring, planning, does the research suggest that some of these are more closely tied to academic success than others?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Research suggests that the monitoring and control aspects,
Okay.
that self-oriented feedback loop we talked about,
Right.
might be particularly powerful.
Particularly powerful.
Okay. Being able to accurately judge how well you understand something
Okay.
and then take steps to fix any gaps.
So you're recognizing there are gaps and you're fixing them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Seems to be a strong predictor of academic achievement.
Really?
And comprehension monitoring specifically
Okay.
appears very important because it directly targets those areas where your understanding isn't solid.
Where you need a little extra work.
Yeah, where you need to shore things up a bit.
What about setting goals and making plans?
Right.
We talked about those being key parts of self-regulated learning.
Yeah, interestingly, the research indicates that just setting goals might not be enough to move the needle significantly.
Okay, so just having a goal in mind isn't enough.
It's not quite enough. It's the kind of goals you set
Oh, the kind of goals. Okay.
that really matters.
Okay.
Goals that are specific, short-term, often called proximal goals,
Proximal goals.
and directly focused on the task at hand,
Okay.
tend to be much more effective for self-monitoring and lead to deeper engagement with the material
Okay.
compared to vague or long-term goals.
Okay, so vague long-term goal. I'm going to graduate college someday.
Yeah.
Specific short-term goal. I'm going to finish this chapter by the end of the hour.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Think of it like setting a goal to finish one section of a reading assignment by the end of the hour rather than just saying, I'll study today.
I'll study today. That's a good example.
Right.
Similarly, with planning, it seems, the quality of your plan.
Okay. How well it's thought out,
Okay.
how well it fits the task is likely more important than just how often you make a plan.
Than just how often you make a plan.
Exactly.
Okay, so a clear, immediate goal is more effective than a general, far-off one.
Yeah.
What happens when researchers look at how all of these different metacognitive skills work together?
That's often where we see even a stronger link to achievement.
Really?
When studies look at a combination of metacognitive processes,
Okay.
examining how broadly students engage in managing their own learning.
So it's not just one, it's the whole package.
It's the whole package working together.
All right.
They frequently find a more robust, positive association with academic outcomes.
So it really suggests that being actively involved in various aspects of your learning management is generally very beneficial.
Yeah, it's about being engaged on multiple fronts.
Okay, so we've talked about these metacognitive skills and how they all work together, but what about the basic learning strategies themselves?
Right.
Things like summarizing or memorization. How do those relate to how well someone does in school, regardless of how well they're being managed?
The research suggests that students who report using a wider range of cognitive strategies tend to perform better academically.
Okay.
It implies that having a more diverse set of learning tools and being able to choose the right tool for the job can be a real advantage.
So having a bigger toolkit is better.
Having a bigger toolkit and knowing when to use each tool.
Right, the right tool for the right job.
Exactly.
Now, there was a point in the research about just reviewing material.
Yeah.
It sounds like just passively rereading notes isn't necessarily a golden ticket to better grades.
You got it. The research indicates that simply reviewing material frequently doesn't automatically lead to better performance.
Okay.
What's much more important is how you review.
How you review.
What specific cognitive strategies are you using during your review sessions?
So are you just rereading or are you doing something more active?
Exactly. Are you just passively rereading or are you actively trying to recall information without explaining concepts in your own words?
Right.
Or connecting the material to other things you've learned?
So really engaging with it.
Yeah, it's about active engagement. The how of your review is far more predictive of success than just the amount of time you spend on it.
Interesting.
So for someone who feels like they spend a lot of time reviewing
Yeah.
but isn't seeing the results, the first question they should ask themselves is about their how.
Their how.
What strategies are they actually using?
So maybe they're just spinning their wheels.
Yeah, they might be putting in the time but not using the time effectively.
That's a really important distinction. It's not just about putting in the hours, but how you're using those hours.
You got it.
Now, the research also touched on how self-regulated learning might play out differently across various school subjects. Can you
Right.
talk about that a bit?
Yeah, the context of the academic discipline seems to matter.
It makes sense that different subjects would kind of call for different approaches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For example, traditional math classrooms, which tend to have more structured procedures and clearly defined answers, might rely less on a student's independent self-regulation
Okay.
compared to subjects like social studies,
Okay. Which are more open-ended.
which often involve more open-ended inquiry and interpretation.
Okay.
In fact, some studies have found that students report using cognitive and metacognitive strategies more often in social studies than in math.
Oh, interesting.
And this use has a stronger link to their grades in social studies.
Okay.
Subjects like science and English language arts also show their own unique patterns
Sure.
in how self-regulated learning comes into play.
Okay, so the way a subject is typically taught and assessed can really influence how much we need to manage our own learning and which strategies are most effective.
Yeah, it's all about adapting to the demands of the subject.
What about the age or grade level of students? Does
Yeah.
that change the relationship between self-regulated learning and how well they do in school?
It does. And the relationship seems to evolve as students progress through their education.
Okay, so it changes over time.
It definitely changes over time.
Okay.
In elementary school, the connection between self-regulated learning and achievement might be a bit weaker initially,
Okay, so it's weaker at the beginning.
a little bit weaker at the beginning.
Okay.
Younger students are still developing their understanding of what it means to learn effectively and their ability to monitor their own understanding.
Okay.
Also, grading in the early years often considers effort and behavior alongside academic learning.
That makes sense.
So a young student might be trying their best, even if they haven't fully grasped a concept.
Right, their effort is part of the equation.
Exactly. Their effort is a big part of it.
Okay.
However, as students move into high school, we generally see this connection strengthen.
It strengthens. Okay.
Their self-regulation skills become more refined, and academic tasks become more complex,
Right.
with grades typically focusing more directly on measures of learning.
More focus on the actual learning.
Exactly.
Okay.
And interestingly, the research you shared highlighted some more specific trends within these broad stages.
Okay. Some more nuances.
Yeah, some interesting nuances.
Okay.
For example, early elementary grades, kindergarten through second grade, sometimes show a stronger link between metacognitive processes and achievement,
Really?
possibly because self-regulating behavior is so crucial at that age.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, they're learning to manage themselves in the classroom.
Right, right.
And there appeared to be a bit of a dip in that correlation around third to fifth grade,
A dip. Okay.
followed by a strengthening again as students transition to middle school.
Okay, so it strengthens again?
It strengthens again.
Okay.
We even saw a temporary dip in ninth and 10th grade,
In ninth and 10th.
perhaps as students adjust to the high school environment.
Okay, so there's that adjustment period.
Yeah, there's that adjustment period,
Yeah.
with another increase in 11th and 12th grade as the academic demands become more intense,
As things ramp up.
as things ramp up.
Okay, so it's not just a straight climb.
Not a straight climb, no.
There are these peaks and valleys that seem to align with these big educational transitions.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it ebbs and flows,
Now, the research also looked at how we try to measure self-regulated learning.
right? How do we even capture this?
Yeah. Does the way we assess these skills affect what we find?
Absolutely. The method we use to capture someone's self-regulated learning significantly influences its apparent relationship with achievement.
Okay, so how we measure matters.
How we measure definitely matters.
Okay.
Measures that assess self-regulated learning during an actual learning task.
Okay.
These are called online measures.
Online measures. Okay.
Tend to show a stronger link to achievement
Okay.
than measures that ask students to reflect on their typical learning habits after the fact.
Okay, so that would be offline measures.
That would be offline measures.
Okay, like questionnaire.
Exactly like questionnaires.
So an online measure is like us asking you how you're monitoring your understanding right now as we discuss this.
Right in the moment.
In the moment.
Versus an offline measure where we ask you generally about your study habits.
Right. Okay.
This difference might be because our reflections on our learning aren't always perfectly accurate or complete.
Right. We don't always have the clearest picture of ourselves.
We don't always have perfect insight into our own minds.
So, what someone does in the moment of learning might be a better indicator than their general perception of how they learn overall.
Yeah, it seems to be a more direct reflection of the skills in action.
Okay. However, within those offline measures,
Right.
some might give us a clearer picture than others.
Yeah, for instance, structured interviews where students are presented with specific learning scenarios and asked how they would approach them
Okay.
might offer more context and therefore potentially more accurate insights compared to broad questionnaires.
Okay. More nuanced information.
More nuance, exactly.
But it's crucial to remember that all self-report measures have their limitations.
They do.
Things like wanting to present yourself in a positive light.
Right, we want to look good.
We want to look good, and the fact that we don't always have perfect awareness of our own thinking can influence the result.
Yeah, we're not always the best judges of our own minds.
Right. These are definitely important factors to keep in mind when we're looking at research in this area.
Absolutely. It's all about being critical consumers of the research.
What about how academic achievement itself is measured?
Right.
Does that play a role?
Yes, it does. The type of academic achievement measure used can also influence the observed relationship with self-regulated learning.
Okay, so the way we measure achievement also matters.
The way we measure everything matters.
Okay.
For example, metacognitive processes showed the strongest link with standardized tests,
Standardized tests.
although that wasn't significantly different from course grades.
Okay.
GPA, on the other hand, showed a somewhat weaker connection.
A weaker connection.
Yeah, and for cognitive strategies, the pattern was a bit different,
Okay.
with GPA showing the strongest correlation
Okay.
and standardized tests the weakest.
Interesting.
This might be related to the different types of knowledge and skills
Okay.
that these different assessments tend to focus on.
So the types of assessments matter.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And interestingly, program placement, like being identified for a gifted program, tended to show the weakest correlation.
Oh, so if you're already in a high-achieving group.
Yeah, essentially, when everyone in the group is already high achieving,
Right.
the link between consciously using these learning strategies and their success might be harder to see
Okay.
because those strategies might have become second nature.
They've already mastered them in a way.
Yeah, they've kind of internalized them.
Okay, that's a subtle but really insightful point. If you're already operating at a high level, those self-regulation skills might be more automatic.
Right, they're not even thinking about it anymore. It's just how they learn.
So we've talked about these metacognitive skills broadly and all the research, but let's dig into some of the specifics now.
Oh yeah, let's get specific.
Things like planning, monitoring, self-evaluation. What did the research tell us about their individual connections to achievement?
We saw that planning self-regulated learning is a broad concept.
Okay.
Metacognition or metacognitive strategies as a general category, and self-checking
Let's check.
seem to have relatively stronger positive links with achievement.
Okay, stronger links.
Yeah, on the other hand, monitoring and self-evaluation showed somewhat weaker positive correlations.
Weaker. Okay.
And it was interesting that metacognitive self-regulation as a specific term
Okay.
showed a very weak correlation,
Really?
as did measures that combined keeping records with monitoring
Okay.
or goal setting with planning.
Okay. So those combinations were weaker.
Yeah, those combinations were surprisingly weaker.
Okay.
This really highlights how nuanced these concepts are and how the way we define and measure them can affect the findings.
It really shows the complexity of it all.
Yeah, it's a very complex picture.
So it sounds like the more active and forward-looking metacognitive skills like planning and actively checking your understanding as you go might be more directly tied to academic success.
Yeah, that seems to be the trend.
What about specific cognitive strategies where some more strongly linked to achievement than others?
Yes, generally strategies that encourage deeper engagement with the material.
Okay.
Things like selecting main ideas,
Okay.
using learning strategies in general,
Okay.
elaborating on concepts,
Elaborative.
actively processing information,
Processing.
and using study aids effectively
Defeated.
tended to show positive correlations with achievement.
Okay, so those are all positive.
Yeah, those are all good things.
All right.
Strategies like simple rehearsal and organization had somewhat weaker positive correlations.
Weaker. Okay.
Interestingly, when researchers looked at a combined measure of deep learning strategies,
Okay.
they unexpectedly found a non-significant correlation,
Non-significant.
which might be related to the specific age groups that were studied.
Okay. So more research is needed there.
More research is definitely needed,
Right.
and perhaps most importantly, simply reviewing
Okay, just reviewing.
and just generally being actively engaged
Okay.
showed weak negative correlation,
Negative correlation.
while surface-level strategies showed a significant negative correlation.
So those are the ones we want to avoid.
Yeah, those are the ones we want to be careful with. This really underscores the idea that focusing on deep understanding is far more effective than just trying to memorize facts.
Really focusing on that deeper level.
Deep-level processing, that's the
Well,
key.
every good research study has limitations.
Right. Every study has its limitations.
So what were some of the key limitations of the research that you found?
Yeah, several important limitations were noted.
Okay.
First, the research was primarily correlational.
Okay, so correlation, not causation.
Exactly. Correlation, not causation.
Okay.
Meaning it shows associations, but doesn't prove that better self-regulation causes higher achievement.
Okay, even though the evidence strongly suggests a connection.
Right. There's a strong suggestion there.
Okay.
Second, the focus was mainly on the cognitive and metacognitive aspects of self-regulated learning.
Okay.
Other important factors, like managing your time and resources effectively,
Right.
weren't the main focus of these particular studies.
Okay.
Third, the research mainly included studies from the USA and Canada.
The USA and Canada?
So we need to be a bit cautious about how broadly we generalize these findings to other cultural contexts.
Right. Different cultures might have different approaches.
Different cultures, different educational systems, it's all part of the picture.
Okay.
And finally, there's the issue of inconsistent labeling.
Right.
Researchers sometimes use different terms for very similar ideas about self-regulated learning.
So it can get confusing.
It can get confusing,
Okay.
which can make it a bit tricky to compare results across different studies.
So it's an evolving field.
It's definitely an evolving field.
Okay, so while the findings are really valuable, it's important to keep these limitations in mind and recognize that this is a complex area of ongoing research.
Exactly. Ongoing research is key.
For me, some of the real aha moments
Oh,
are the emphasis on how you plan and set your goals, not just if you do it at all.
right. The how is crucial.
The how is crucial, the critical importance of actively checking your understanding as you learn.
That constant monitoring.
That constant monitoring and the clear message that those deeper learning strategies are generally much more effective in the long run than just trying to memorize information.
Yeah, it's about depth over surface.
Depth over surface.
Understanding over rote memorization.
Right. Plus, the idea that different school subjects might require different approaches to managing your own learning is definitely something I'll be thinking about.
It's all about being adaptable.
So, as you reflect on our deep dive today,
Right.
think about your own approaches to learning.
Yeah.
Are there specific metacognitive skills you might want to focus on developing further?
Which skills could you sharpen?
Could you try experimenting with setting more specific and shorter-term goals for your learning tasks?
Those proximal goals.
Those proximal goals, and how might you adjust your learning strategies depending on whether you're tackling a math problem, reading a history chapter, or writing an English essay?
It's all about tailoring your approach to the task at hand.
This deep dive has really only scratched the surface of this fascinating and important area.
Yeah, we've just dipped our toes in.
If any of these aspects of self-regulated learning have particularly resonated with you, I definitely encourage you to explore them further.
There's a whole world out there waiting to be discovered.
There's a wealth of information out there on how we learn best.
So keep learning, keep exploring.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great conversation.
All right, take care.
You too.